Hey, what's going on YouTube? Alabama Reloader here. So in today's video, we got ourselves a hot rod. This is an absolute performance car, high performance track vehicle, whatever you want to call it. Like this is sort of taking it to another level. Okay, this is typically a realm or an area that I don't really dabble in too much, simply because of the price point, to be honest with you. I just don't. I'm one of those people where I kind of like to, buy, sell, trade, get a new to me rifle chambered in what I believe to be an interesting cartridge. I go out, load it, shoot it, possibly take it hunting, and then move on to the next one. That's typically how I operate, and it's just that for me. That's just fun, right? Every now and then, though, I'll come across one that I just can't part with. I've got a couple in the closet right now that are of that variety that I just don't believe I'll be parting with. And I ended up, I kind of accumulated some gift cards over time, some Bass Pro gift cards, and then got a couple more at Christmas time, and so I had a little bit of money built up in some gift cards, and I was of course looking on the Bass Pro used gun site, and came across this rifle, and I couldn't believe the price. When I saw it listed, I was like, man, that is basically, they marked it down like 50%, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, that's a really good deal. And then I was like, oh wait, I got a stack of gift cards to go with it. So it's very interesting. What I ended up paying for this particular rifle that's in front of me that we're about to go over in great detail, I paid the exact same amount for that Savage Model 334 chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor, right? I've shown that on the channel if you guys have followed along and saw, if you saw those videos, that rifle shot really well for what it is. It's a very budget-oriented, budget-minded rifle, and it shot really well. I had a couple of complaints about some of the features, but in general, that's a great starter rifle, budget setup. And Timney, I think there's a couple of companies that actually make aftermarket triggers for it that make it even better, in my opinion. But what's funny is I paid the exact, like the same, almost to the dollar, the same amount for this rifle that I paid for that rifle. And I got that rifle really cheap, so it is what it is, right? I lucked up and got a really good deal on this one. This is the Benelli Lupo, chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor. The Lupo was Benelli's first intro into the bolt action space for centerfire rifles. Of course, Benelli, they're very well known for shotguns, and that's kind of what you immediately think about, or at least that's what I immediately think of, like a Benelli M4 or something like an Upland shotgun, or let's go duck hunting or whatever. I just immediately think of Benelli shotguns. But they came out with the Lupo, and of course ever since they introduced the rifle, they've made different iterations to it and different models and all this other fun stuff. But this is just the basic Benelli Lupo. These are not cheap. These are what I would consider to be a premium factory rifle. They're priced as such, but it's just funny to me that I got this for the same dollar amount that I did that Savage Model 334. So it's blowing my mind. But really, really nice rifle. It's just got a synthetic stock on it. I'm not gonna go over all of the crazy, like, patented features and all this other stuff. Go look it up on the interwebs, okay? Benelli, they're like, oh, it's built on a chassis system, and there's this interesting way you can add inserts and do different things here, and there's some type of recoil suppression system. But it's all, like I said, this is a high performance, absolute high performance firearm, way out of my league in terms of the capability and what it's bringing to the table. But again, such an amazing deal, couldn't pass it up. Chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor, straight out of the box. And this was even though this was in the used section, it was simply a display model. So it had never been sold. It was just a display rifle. So it came with everything like it would from the factory. So the box, everything, all the bits and pieces and the inserts and the different things that it would come with otherwise. Came with all that. I had a set of these just cheap worn vapor rings. I know some people expressed in the comment section when I talked about using these on another project, they're not exactly big fans of this style of ring. They have a lot of issues with them. Haven't really had any problems with these type of rings. So the vapors are basically the cheap version of the worn rings. So I don't necessarily recommend the vapors. Probably go a step above maybe and spend a little bit more money and it just feels like a much better ring when you step up and spend just a little bit more money than these. But this is what I had laying around. 6.5 Creedmoor does not have that much recoil, so I wasn't necessarily worried about that. Also, this is a Leupold VX Freedom 3-9x40. The only thing I don't like about this scope, I'm a huge Leupold VX Freedom fan. I like their scopes for the money. I think they're dynamite. But this one is, it has the 450 Bushmaster dial on it. So this is but it's a duplex reticle. So it doesn't have like a BDC or anything like that inside on the reticle. It's simply a duplex reticle, but it is the 450 Bushmaster turret. This came on another firearm, so I'm not a big fan of that. Probably gonna try to at some point get rid of the scope, or maybe just see if I can get a different dial and go that route, because I like this optic in general. But that's basically, that's the package as it sits. Now this does have a threaded muzzle. You guys know, if you followed along for any length of time here on the channel, that's not important to me. To be honest with you, I couldn't care less about a threaded muzzle. I know that's every fanboy, that's just their dream. Oh man, if I could just have a threaded muzzle so I could just put a shusher on there, like, oh, my life would just be complete. And then I wouldn't be such a terrible shot. It's gotta be the suppressor. That is the key to unlocking the true potential in the firearm. That way I can shoot without hearing protection, because hearing protection is just, it's so annoying having to use it. I'm kidding, I'm being facetious. It is awesome to be able to suppress your firearm. It's great that we can even do that, have that capability. But for me, it's not something, it's just one more thing, in my opinion, to hang off the end of your barrel. One more thing you got to worry about. One more thing you got to clean. One more thing you got, did my suppressor come loose? Well, did it come, well, do I have my suppressor cover on? Am I getting mirage off the suppressor? It's like, it ain't worth all that for me. Not the type of hunting and shooting that I do. That's me personally. Now, of course, people are going to hear that and they're going to leave comments about how stupid I am and how, it doesn't make any sense and suppressors are the way to go. And that's fine. Please comment below. It helps me out in the algorithm here on the YouTubes. But it's just not my thing. I don't really care for it. And not even really a big fan of muzzle brakes unless you get up into cartridges like the 7mm PRC and something like the Christensen Arms Ridgeline. When you kind of go in that direction, a muzzle brake's pretty nice to have. So I just left the thread protector on there. That's really my only, it's not even a complaint, but I would just prefer this barrel not even be threaded at all, to be honest with you. But again, chambered 6.5 Creedmoor. It's a really good cartridge, easy to shoot, easy to load for. There's a mountain of factory options available for ammunition, and just in general, if you pick up a rifle chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor, you go buy some good factory ammo, chances are it's gonna shoot pretty good or halfway decent, right? So that's one of the things I really like about this. And when I decided to, I was kind of like sitting around going, okay, what am I gonna load for this rifle to start off with? I want to go and just throw some stuff at the wall, see what sticks. Let's test out a couple of loads. I started to flip back through my notes, and I kind of wanted to just test what's already worked in the past in other rifles. That just kind of makes sense. So I was flipping through my notes and I came across this test that I did. This is back when I had the Ramesa, which is no longer with us. It is gone. It's one of those that fell into the category of addition by subtraction. So I had to get rid of some to add some, is what it is. That was one of the ones that was on the chopping block. So that has left the building. But in that particular test, what I was using was, I've got Lapua small rifle primer, undersized flash hole brass. That's what I typically, basically almost always shoot in 6.5 Creedmoor. CCI 450 small rifle magnum primers. the Meguiar Ballistics 125 grain copper rose hollow point bullet. Now that's the same bullet that my daughter killed her really nice 8-point buck up in Tennessee during the youth hunt that weekend. You guys go back a couple of months, back to October, if you'll scroll back through my video uploads and find like the October time frame. That hunt is actually, I filmed that hunt, filmed the shot through the scope. It was an awesome moment, and the buck drop didn't take another step. You can go watch that footage. I'm just a huge fan of these Meguiar Ballistics copper rose bullets, either the hollow point or the non-hollow point version. Either one, they kill game. They do their job. But that was the bullet. I've got some more of those, and I wanted to test that particular bullet. And then in this test, I did Stay Ball 6.5 versus Superformance. And of course, this is in a different rifle, different barrel. But you can see, in general, both of these powders, I mean, they didn't shoot bad. Superformance, it got outshot, in my opinion, obviously, with if you look at the numbers. It definitely got outshot in terms of the level of precision that I was seeing with the particular loads that I was testing. But in general, I mean, both of these powders shot pretty good. I mean, that's good performance in general. But I didn't really want to throw a bunch of bullets at this just to test. So what I ended up doing, I loaded up 5. I had some Starline large rifle primer brass sitting around. I had 5 pieces of brass that had already been primed and ready to load, just sitting in an ammo box somewhere. So I loaded up 46 grains. I loaded up 46 grains of Superformance in those 5, and those were going to be my fouling shots. So what I did, once I got this home, I scrubbed the barrel down to bare metal. You know, we're starting over from scratch. And I shot those 5 rounds just to zero the rifle and the scope and everything, get everything dialed in with those 5, foul in the barrel, and then I shot 3 3-shot groups. And what I decided to go with was the Stay Ball 6.5 powder and 43 grains, 43.5 grains, and 44 grains with this bullet, with the Meguiar Ballistics 125 copper rose hollow point bullet. And of course, that's in the Lupo brass and the CCI 450 primers. So that's what I loaded up to test. And I gotta tell you, the results were pretty stellar. So if you are interested in dropping a chunk of money, I can kind of point you in, at least in my one sample size here. This will probably be a pretty good place to drop a chunk of money if you're interested in doing that, if you're looking for this type of thing. So these were the first 5 shots out of the rifle. Okay, so this was the Superformance 46 grain load. That was the very first shot. Point of aim was actually somewhere down here, and I was hitting high. But I went ahead, I didn't make an adjustment. I wanted to go ahead and just shoot all 5 shots and then make an adjustment after the fact. So that's what I did. That was the very first one. The next 4 came in. That's pretty tight on the next 4. So then I waited, you know, I switched over to a couple of other rifles that I was shooting on that day, let the barrel cool down, because this is a pencil thin barrel, which that's fine with me. I like to hunt. That's what I care about. I'm not a competition shooter. I don't want to walk out there with a big 1 1/4 inch barrel, you know, straight taper and a 20-pound gun and go shoot. That's just not fun for me. But I hunt. I only care about shooting hunting rifles. That's just what I like. That's a hunting rifle to me. Of course, that's a hotly debated topic too, but not saying you can't hunt with a 20-pound gun, but I just don't want to. So pencil thin barrel, so I had to let the barrel cool back down. So then this was the 43 grain group. So we go right into shooting the 3-shot group. And of course, you know, I mean, 3-shot groups are just obsolete and that they're worthless and you should never do them. You can't get any meaningful information from them. No good data whatsoever. The data is irrelevant. Whatever the results are is completely irrelevant. Again, being slightly facetious here because I have picture after picture of white-tailed deer that has been stacked up over the years from myself and friends and family and a bunch of people, a bunch of deer killed at a bunch of different ranges in terms of shot distance. And you know, I guess those 3-shot groups, they just don't work. They just don't tell you what you need to know. So That's a .477 inch group, 43 grains. That's pretty good. And then we move over to 43.5 grains. I'd say that's pretty good. 3 shots, 0.155 inches. That's not too bad. And then 44 grains, well, that's the exact same group size. The group, obviously, I mean, if you want to call 3 shots a group, but you can see there's just difference in how it looks, but it does actually measure exactly the same, 0.155. Yeah. So I think we're done. This is like the fastest load development project series I've ever done. That's probably why this is going to be a little bit longer video than most normal kickoff videos. I don't really know where to go from here. What's the point, right? I mean, I just threw some loads that have worked in the past. I just kind of threw those at it, and it shot them amazingly well. And the velocities were pretty well spot on from what I had tested previously. I mean, we're talking within just a handful of feet per second versus what I got out of the other rifle. So, yeah. That's not too bad. These were the 3 bullets that I was most interested in testing in this rifle, the 127 grain Barnes LRX, and then of course both of the Meguiar ballistics options, the hollow point and the non-hollow point version. These are just the touch point measurements that I got, checking the distance to the lands. And these were the results, velocity wise. So you see, I mean, not blazing fast, right? For a 125 grain bullet, you could definitely push it faster if you wanted to. Not sure why I would want to. It'll definitely kill. This is actually the load, the 44 grain load is what my daughter used to smoke that 8-point up in Tennessee. And that was like a 100-yard shot, maybe just a hair over 100 yards, and he didn't go anywhere, piled up, didn't take another step. SDs, which again, on 3-shot groups, you know, it's, take that with a grain of salt. 4.17, 8.1. The fact that none of them were weird or super high, that's pretty good. Extreme spread, on 3 shots, yeah, that's good. We'll take it. But definitely, I think it's safe to say we're done here. So really quick and easy load development. So now I'm just gonna go load up a bunch of those, however many I have left, put those in an ammo box and set them in the closet, and we're done with this. We can move on to the next project. That's money well spent, in my opinion. No, I mean, I got it for such an amazing deal. It is money well spent. But if you're interested in forking over a hefty chunk of change, you might want to take a look at the Benelli Lupo. This thing is really, really sweet. Fun to shoot. It's a little bit different in terms of just the lines and the stock and how everything, that trigger guard, it is a little bit, it takes some getting used to, but it handles so well in terms of when I shoulder the rifle, it just feels really nice. Exactly how I want one to feel whenever I go to shoulder a rifle. Super comfortable. Seems like it would be easy to shoot in the woods, offhand. And that's what I need. That's, for hunting purposes, that's exactly what I need. So that's it. That's where we're gonna leave it. I probably will do some more testing. Obviously I'm just kidding. I mean, I can't just let this sit in the closet and not shoot it. So there's other bullets that I'd like to test in this particular rifle. Probably do some videos on those as well, but this is definitely one that is now being shifted to the back of the line in terms of priority because it just shot amazing. So what's the point in doing any more investigation on it? So that's it. That's where we're gonna leave it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll catch you next time. Y'all have a good one.